Alright y'all, so my latest video that I put up, full self-driving did not do so well, and that was really my first kind of big drive with 11.3.6, the latest update that we've received, and I was pretty vocal about not being happy with the car, not doing a great job. So I read the comments on pretty much all of my videos, at least for the first few days of the video, and I take that feedback into consideration. I take it pretty seriously. It's pretty much why I do the videos I do, why I make them the way I do, and why I choose the topics that I choose. And this comment right here really stuck with me. I totally agree with it. I want to say I am very impressed with full self-driving beta on the whole. I say that a lot, but I want to remind everybody, despite any mistakes it makes or whatever I think or say in the moment, it is very cool that I, just some random person, can have this on my car and it does everything. More than 95% of my driving is done with full self-driving beta. And yes, if you're talking robotaxis, that last 5% and much more than that is very important. But still, most of my driving is done by a robot car. That's crazy. So compliments to the chef, the autopilot team, y'all have made some amazing software that's very safe and very impressive that is bringing joy to a lot of people, increasing safety on the roads, and hopefully soon going to bring mobility to people that don't have it. With that said, you have to take into account the context of everything. So if you look at a couple of videos ago, I will link that in the top right here, so make sure you click and watch that video if you haven't seen it. It was probably the most impressive drive in this area that I've had with beta, maybe even the most impressive drive I've ever had anywhere with beta, and I was really blown away. I was so excited to have the car doing such a good job, and when we get these updates and the car performs so well, I just get excited. I'm thinking, man, they've really taken a step forward, they've really done this, the car is doing so well. We've been at this for so long. I've been using full self-driving beta for over 2.5 years at this point. I mean, it's crazy to even say that, but that's how long I've been doing these videos, and I've been making YouTube videos for even 2 years longer than that. And when the car gets so good, I have such a good drive, I just don't really think we're gonna have any huge setbacks. Now, of course, maybe we'll get an update that will introduce some weirdness or some, regressions here and there, some small things. But for the most part, I feel like the car is handling well. It's not freaking out for pedestrians that are 20 feet away. It's not doing weird back and forth braking that I experience sometimes, which, is something that's hard to portray on camera, but it does happen sometimes. And I try to kind of vocally explain that when it does. And I get very excited. That's just my personality. It's just the way I am. So then when we get an update and another update and another update after that amazing drive, and the car ends up doing so much worse, I get a little frustrated, to be totally honest. Again, I realize with everything considered, some setbacks and whatever, it's fine. It's overall still incredibly impressive, but especially when these setbacks are for such simple things that the car has been doing well for a while. Like in the last video, a lot of the stop signs when the car was coming up to them just kept hitting the brake and then accelerating a bit and hitting the brake all the way up to the stop sign or stopping really far back and just doing all these little weird behaviors that are just parts of basic driving that have seemed to have been nailed down for a long time now, and now out of nowhere, I'm getting this weirdness. One more time, I understand it's a beta. I'm more than happy to help and give data to eventually fix those mistakes, but just during that drive when I'm excited for a new update to try something out, to then have the mistakes it makes be something so basic is just a little more of a letdown, instead of the mistake being, oh, somebody cut us off and the car didn't brake quite quickly enough, or something a little more complex. But I just kind of wanted to sit back and explain all of that to you and just kind of have a little discussion. Now for you guys, because you request it, I do try to find harder routes. I do try to find more difficult routes. I try to find new routes that include difficult situations like unprotected lefts or roundabouts, so we can see those weaknesses and talk about them. Not to diss the autopilot team or for me to be a jerk, but we want to see those problems. We want to see where beta is struggling. We want to see it having a hard time. And we especially want to see the progress over time that beta has made and where it's gotten better and better. So kind of responding to that comment and kind of thinking about it, I want to go back. I want to do this route that we've been doing for probably about a year now. We've done this route many times. And, a year ago, the car would really struggle on this route. It would have all kinds of problems. And that's why I picked this route. That's why it's set up. That's why it's saved in my car under my favorites, because it was a route the car struggled with. And we would take this route for over a year now and see, oh, it messed up here again. We're used to it messing up here. Hey, it did this right. Oh, it messed up here and it's never messed up before, all those different things. But at this point, after a year or so of development, I've now done this route 3 or 4 times with 0 interventions, meaning I do nothing. The car does absolutely everything. And no, it's not usually perfect, but neither am I when I drive, and neither are most people. It can safely complete this route that used to be such a challenge. And even in this video you're watching now, the car got through this entire route pretty much by itself. Right at the beginning, there was a stop sign off to the side that was not for us, that I did tap the accelerator for because the car wanted to stop for it, even though it was for the side street. But besides that one accelerator tap, this entire video you're seeing, the human, me sitting in the driver's seat, did absolutely nothing. The car did the whole drive by itself, even in complex situations, lots of pedestrians, lots of cars. It's just so impressive. Now, one more thing I want to point out, when I make comparisons like I do when I'm doing the live drives, and I say something like, oh, I would have done this, or I would have done that, it's not to say particularly that the car is wrong. It's just to give you a frame of reference for what I'm experiencing during the drive at that time. I'm just going to speak for myself here, but there's a lot of things that humans, so me, do while we're driving that maybe are not technically correct, maybe are illegal, but it's just to go with the flow of traffic. It's what everyone in my local area does. It's the way they drive. It's the way drivers are expected to behave. And you just want to fit in. You don't want to stick out because you're doing something technically correct. So if Beta is doing something legally, even though I may find it kind of strange or annoy the drivers around me, I actually don't mind that at all. It's just me pointing out, saying like, oh, I would have done it a little differently, just to kind of give a frame of reference. And the reason I do that is because if you've never used Beta, now I know a lot of viewers now have it on their own cars, which is so cool, but plenty of people don't have Beta. They have never experienced it themselves, or maybe have only tried it once or been in a car with it one time. Being in the car is such a vastly different experience versus watching the video. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you've never ridden in full self-driving Beta and you've watched a lot of these videos, I beg you, if you can find somebody near you or travel to the US or Canada if you're not here, and get a ride in one of these cars, it is way, way cooler, more fun, more exciting than it is on the video, even if the video is very cool. So due to that, I do my best to convey every little piece of information to you through the video the best way I can, even though one of the biggest factors, in my opinion, one of the most important things, is the feel of the acceleration and the braking that you get by sitting in the car. You can't feel it on the video, but I try to vocally get that information to you the best way that I can. So let's follow along on this route and see how the car does, and kind of comment on some of these different things that it's doing, what's impressive, the couple things I thought were a little weird, but overall, this is an excellent drive and just shows how far Beta has come. In the top right, I will also link a really old video of this exact same route, or pretty close to the exact same route, so you can see where Beta used to be, where it used to make lots of mistakes on this route, and where we are today. So the car right there just did a really impressive job of following a jogger in the road. It had him highlighted in blue the entire time and didn't get too close to him. It was very comfortable. Now this intersection we're coming up to is probably the worst part of the whole drive. Watching it on video doesn't look too bad, but it just took forever to get through this intersection. And I kind of hear what you're saying. There's not a great opportunity, but the car was just being so scared and careful of the pedestrians around us. And you can even see the people to the right of us go behind us because they realize we want to get through there. They're not trying to be in the way. And the car, even when pedestrians are close behind, is going to be careful of them. If you look at the visualization, you'll notice the car coming from our left. They do not have a stop sign, but we did need to nose our way out there, but you can even see it in the visual. They were coming at us a little quickly, nothing dangerous, but the car just took a long time. And then as soon as it clears up, one of these things that's hard to portray on video, the car just takes off. And it seems to have some type of timer where when a maneuver takes a long time, the car then like launches out of where it is as soon as it's clear. And I love that. I love how it tries to get out of the way as fast as it can. Now coming up here, we are being really careful with this person pulling out in front of us, and then we have a couple cyclists, and the car again does a really good job tracking them, waiting for them to get out of the way. A little bit slow again, but it's good. It's a good slow. And as soon as those cyclists are out of the way, the car continues forward and does a really nice job for pretty much the rest of the drive. Pretty much this whole drive felt next to perfect besides that one slow intersection there. So going between this really tight FedEx van and the parked cars, and I was really worried when I saw the car coming in our lane, because that's their lane and we're passing, that Beta was just going to kind of freeze and lock up. And no, it actually handled it really well. It went through that tight space. It went directly towards the car, which it needed to do, and then slowly moved out of the way and did a really good job. pretty big unprotected left right after that the car again handles perfectly. There's not a ton of traffic there. Usually there's a lot more traffic. It doesn't hesitate. It moves right through and does everything it needs to do. So overall, a very good drive. It's just so surprising that this used to be so difficult for the car, and now we can do this drive all the time with, you know, 0 or 1 intervention and no safety issues. So very cool to see. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really look forward to talking to you down in the comments. So make sure you're down there talking to me. Make sure you hit like and get subscribed, and you will see me in Full Self-Driving Beta in the next video.